everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Steven and I'm a Filipino makeup artist living in Stockholm, Sweden. So I've been living in Sweden officially for 3 years, and to be honest, during that time I've learned to love and appreciate this country so much, and there's so many things that I've noticed about the Swedes in general and Sweden as a country, and I think that's worth sharing with you guys. So today I've decided to talk about the things that make Sweden different. This is all from a point of view of an immigrant, and this is just me comparing my upbringing, my culture to how it is now in Sweden, how I've seen it, how I've witnessed it, and how I am experiencing it in Sweden. So I hope you find it as fun as much as I do. So the first thing that I want to tell you guys is that Swedes like their personal space. So now I'm not saying this because I want to bash Swedes, not at all, but that's usually the first thing that you notice. Like Swedes seem to be a bit close, but they're really not. They're more, how do you say, more reserved type of people. They're quiet, at least the ones that I've met. The relationships to them are very important. And I guess it also talks about like trust, and of course if there's a newcomer, maybe they're having a hard time to involve that new person, and especially if you're not speaking the language. And at the same time, I think also there's a big language barrier that is so hard because there's so many expressions in Swedish that you can't translate in English, and there's so many expressions in English that you can't translate in Swedish. So there's always that miscommunication that happens when there's a language barrier. So that's the first impression that I got from Sweden. It's so hard to penetrate a friend circle or a group or like a community of people. It's not that easy to get into the society. Like, you know, at least for me, all the workplaces that I've had before, it's so easy to make friends. But here in Sweden, it's a little bit tougher. But once you get to know the Swedes, you're gonna love them. They're very warm-hearted, they're super kind, they're so thoughtful, and to be honest, they're so soft-spoken, at least majority of them, that it calms you down when you talk to someone. They're not extremely loud people. Like, I think majority of the Filipinos that I know, maybe I am somehow, is a little bit too loud sometimes. And I think Swedes in general, they're more on like the muted type, if I would say correctly. I hope I'm not offending any Swede who's watching this, but yeah, but they're very more calm, I would say, than the ones that I've met. When you get through that barrier, when you start talking the language, when you start getting to know them really well, you'll notice that they're really warm and loving people. They're so thoughtful, they're very, very kind, and they really care about people genuinely. So the number two thing that I think is pretty cool in Sweden is that they bring their own beers to a party. So I'm not saying that this is like 100% like happening all the time, but in most of the cases that I've attended parties or dinners in Sweden, we always bring our own beer or alcohol or a drink of choice. And I think this was originally like a little strange to me, because usually in the Philippines or anywhere you are in the world anyway, when you invite someone over, it means you're having a party and that person would just come in. Or if you're invited to a party, you just go to the party. If it's a birthday, you bring a present, that's all. But in Sweden, usually if someone is inviting you, they would usually say, oh, okay, I'm doing tequila, or like I'm doing vodka, or I'm doing wine. But if there's anything you want, you can bring your drink. But it's always like that. So the first party that I experienced was, it was my boyfriend's friend's birthday, and we were gonna go to his house, and my boyfriend asked me like, what do you want to bring? I was like, what do you mean? For your drink? I'm like, for my drink. What do you want to drink? He asked me, and I said, cider, wine. Okay, so he started packing stuff. In the beginning, I was like, I didn't really care about it. I didn't understand what he was doing. And then I remember we got one bottle of wine for the birthday celebrator. So we went into the house, we gave him the wine, and then we have more stuff in the bag, and he started opening his own beer. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm drinking. Like, why do you have your own beer? And he's like, what do you mean? So at that point, he didn't really get that I didn't get it. And that's the first time he actually explained to me, like, okay, here we bring our own drinks. So that was pretty funny in the beginning, but now I'm used to it. So every single time I go to a friend's place, if I know that, you know, it's like we're gonna hang out and stuff, I usually bring my drinks. It doesn't happen 100% of the time. You know, of course, if it's a formal dinner, or usually if it's family, it depends on the situation, but majority of the time, yes, you bring your own drinks. And speaking of alcohol, I think this is also cool in Sweden, that you can only buy your alcohol in one place. Not literally in one place, I mean in one alcohol chain. It's called Systembolaget, and that place is a monopoly. It's monopolized by the government, so it's only the government that can sell alcohol. If you want to drink alcohol that you can get drunk in, wine, beer, spirits, liquor, doesn't matter. You can only buy it in Systembolaget. Actually, there are low alcohol level alcohol that you can buy it in a local grocery store, but that's not really alcohol. Like, you can never buy wine in a store. So here it's only in Systembolaget, and I thought that was pretty cool. So in the beginning I thought, why would Sweden do this? So apparently during the olden times, back in the day, Sweden was really poor, and a lot of people couldn't control their alcohol intake. They had a lot of problems, so they resorted to drinking and they drank too much. So the government decided they needed to control this, they needed to do something about this, so they monopolized the alcohol industry. So now it's only Systembolaget, which is handled by the government, that can sell alcohol in Sweden. Usually you can see Systembolaget everywhere, like majority of the key places in a city, you can find one store. So the fourth thing that I think makes Sweden different is equality in a household is followed. So I'm a big believer of this, but I grew up in another culture. So, you know, I've always learned that the father should earn more money and the mother should stay at home. It's usually the mom that has to do the house chores, the cooking, the cleaning, and the dad has to work. So I'm saying this not to crap on my own culture or what I grew up in, but also, you know, I think, you know, growing up like that and, you know, living in different countries and now living here in Sweden, it's just, you just feel more like, I support this, you know, I believe in this, and I honestly think that it's better. I don't think that it's only up to men, like, to provide for the family. We both live in a house, we both have children. I mean, we're both parents to a child, and I think both should be able to contribute in the house, so there's no feeling of guilt whatsoever, and there's no feeling that the women is under the men, if you understand what I mean. And I really love this concept because we're in the modern age and it should be equal anyway. You know, I think that guys should also clean, or girls should also work, or we should be able to choose as women what career we want. In Sweden, it's so equal that you both have the opportunity to work and you both have the opportunity to be at home with your child if you want to. So that to me is pretty amazing, and especially now that I'm experiencing it in this household, I would say that I think that's pretty amazing that we're experiencing it here in Sweden. So the fifth thing that makes Sweden different for me is that they have a great healthcare system, if not the best. Here in Sweden, you always have a great parental leave. Like, both parents have an opportunity to be at home for a total of 280 days. That's split into two depending on how you want to split it. Like, you have the opportunity to decide as a couple who will stay more at home and who will work, and you always have an opportunity to file for a leave if your baby is sick, and you have child support, so the government will usually give money to your child, and also you have a sick leave pay. So for example, you get sick and you're working, and basically in the Philippines, if you get sick, you don't get sick pay, or you get a portion of the sick pay. But in Sweden, you get paid by your company and you still get paid by the government a portion of that, so you get 80% of what you missed at work. So for me, that's pretty great, because sometimes you don't really want to get sick and you don't want your salary to be lower just because of one day that you got sick, so you're compensated for that. Sweden is a socialist country, so even though a lot of people say that we pay a lot of taxes, but at least here you see where your taxes go. You know, you don't see people here doing corrupt stuff. Like, you know that the roads will always be fixed, you know that the food in schools are free for children, stuff like that. It's so many more things that you don't see, but you know for a fact that whatever you pay for in taxes, you will always get something from it in return. So I think that's pretty cool. So the sixth thing that makes Sweden different for me is that I know that this is going to be a controversial topic, and that is abortion is legal in Sweden. So of course we know this. In the Philippines, it's illegal. There's no abortion, especially when you're in a country that is Catholic. And here in Sweden, because Sweden is secular, the government isn't ruled by religion. They're not making decisions together. So the government is what sets the law, who sets the law, and that's what it is. So of course, it still depends on your culture, on your religion. If in your religion they say you shouldn't do this, and you don't do this. But the fact that it's legal and you can do it whenever you want, to me somehow still is a little bit shocking. I've met people who just casually says, oh, I've been pregnant 2 times before, but I've aborted it. And I don't know, has an impact on me because I don't know, maybe the conservative school girl in me, like the conservative, you know, I grew up, I studied in an exclusive girls' school, so for me that's a sin, if you know what I mean. But of course, you know, you grow up and you mature and you open up your eyes to the reality of the world, of the modern times, and yes, you realize that, you know, some women, they don't want this, or some women, they're not ready for this. So I'm saying this because, of course, in the beginning I was culture shocked, and I realized that now we're in the modern day and you gotta have an open mind. So yeah. The last thing that makes Sweden different is that they are very, very passionate with the environment, and they have a passion for recycling. And I'm saying this because of what's happening with our global climate change right now, and I really appreciate that you see a lot of, like, the community really makes sure that people sort their garbage. We have like environment stations where you can throw bottles, cans, papers, different stuff, and we have a system called Panta wherein you can recycle bottles that you drink from, like with soda and beer, and you can get money out of it. So you usually take it to the grocery store, so when you buy it you get like 1 crown for every bottle that is like regular size, and for a big bottle for like a 1.5 liter you get like 2 crowns or something like that. I support this a lot, and I think that everyone should make a little bit of a change. And you know, in the Philippines, I don't think we're that good in recycling. You know, I grew up that we sort the wet trash and the dry trash, that's it. But here you separate everything from bottles, newspapers, every single thing that has to be separated is separated. And I really appreciate that, because then you know that you're doing your little contribution to the environment. So I think I'll end my video here, you guys. I hope that this video has been a little bit informative and interesting, and the reason why I'm sharing all these things with you guys is because I think it was cool, I think it was interesting, and noticing all of these things changed my perception, changed my mindset, and to be honest, has made me fall in love with Sweden more and more. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the love that you sent me on the past few videos that I've posted, and I enjoy talking to you guys. Please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and follow me on my Instagram. I'll see you on my next one. Bye!